You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Brian Kelly on the SEC Coaches Teleconference did give an update on Mason Smith. He's going to play. We know that. He was asked how much Mason Smith is expected to play against Grambling. Here's what BK had to say.
I think we have to be realistic that, when you haven't played in over a year, he's not going to be able to play the duration of the game. And, we're looking, obviously if we can get, somewhere near 30 snaps, we'd be really excited about that. So he's practicing, for us, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
If we're being completely honest, do you really want Mason Smith to play any more than 30 snaps against Grambling? I mean, this is one of those where it's like, yes, run him out there, let him taste it again, let him hit somebody else to go full speed, and get him out of the game and get him ready to go to Starkville next week, take on Mississippi State at full strength, or as close to full strength as possible. On Monday, you might remember on Monday, one of the things Brian Kelly was asked about was potential changes coming after the Florida State loss. Here's, if you forgot, I said Monday, excuse me, Tuesday, the holiday, everything messes up. His Tuesday press conference, here's what BK said about changes.
Anytime you have a setback, you're going to examine everything. You're not going to have blinders on and say, well, the ball just didn't bounce our way. You're going to examine everything, from play calls to personnel to what time did we leave the locker room. So all of that is under scrutiny.
He was asked a similar question today, and he's right. I mean, you're going to look at everything, and Brian Kelly's such a process and detail-oriented guy. I know we've talked about it a lot. When he took the job, there were some 40 personnel in football ops that were turned over, not just on staff, but all throughout football operations, because he wanted everybody on the same page. There was a certain standard he wanted. He's a very meticulous detail. I mean, the noon presser, Brian Kelly walks through that door at noon and runs up to the podium. Like, he is a very time, schedule, detail-oriented guy. I have no doubt that he would look at every single thing. But specifically with personnel is what I want to kind of focus on here. Brian Kelly was asked about personnel changes on the coaches' teleconference Wednesday morning. Here's what he said.
It's always about, evaluation of all players, all coaching, everything gets evaluated. But, for me to kind of answer you and say, this guy's not going to play because of this, there wasn't one player that caused that loss. That was a collective defeat, coaching-wise, player-wise. And so we've got to do a better job coaching, and our players got to do a better job playing. Could there be some new players that we get a chance to see? Absolutely. But I don't think you're going to see wholesale changes. I think the changes need to occur in terms of how we coach, how we prepare, and how we get ourselves ready.
Oh.
And I think that's where you'll see the biggest changes.
Okay, so I want to run through some of the changes I would like to see. And I completely agree with Brian Kelly, and he talked about it there. Like, there was a lot of things you could have done different. There were play calls that could have been different. You could have coached better. Players could have played better. We've been through all that, right? I mean, you played really well in the first half. You missed some obvious scoring opportunities, and it unraveled on you in the fourth quarter. There's nothing you can do about it to change that. But what do you do as you sort of look forward to see what could potentially be different? Well, this is a game against Grambling that's going to afford you that opportunity, because this is a name-your-score type game. You if you want to score 100, you could go score 100 on Saturday. So let the issue not be at hand for very long. Get your starters out of there, and let's see some of these other guys get and run in real live action. So I want to run through some of the players that I am looking forward to seeing on Saturday. This isn't to say that these guys are going to become starters or steal jobs or anything, but guys that I'm looking forward to in this game in particular, because of who the opponent is, getting an opportunity to see them play. I'll just start on the offensive side of the ball, and I'll just start at the line of scrimmage. The right side of your line with Frazier and Jones got whipped. They got whipped on Saturday. No other way to say it. You were a left-handed running team. Will Campbell had a really good day against Jared Verse. Jared Verse made one play. The right side of your line was a major issue. The fourth and goal from the 1, Josh Williams, he tried to submarine a blitzer. Guy went over him, and the right side of your line didn't pick up a twist. That's what caused the pressure on Jaden Daniels when he got sacked. And it was persistent throughout the game. I want to see Lance Hurd. I do not believe that Lance Hurd was the answer on Saturday, because given that offensive line that defensive line you were facing, if you were going to put Lance Hurd as a true freshman in the game in the second half in that buzzsaw in that stadium against that defensive line, you were setting him up for failure. So, no. I not playing him on Saturday, I'm fine with that. This coming Saturday, I want to see him. Same way that a year ago after the Florida State loss, we saw Emory Jones go play right tackle against Southern. Here's your opportunity for Lance Hurd. I don't care if you want to play Hurd at right guard and keep Jones at right tackle. You want to play Lance Hurd at right tackle, move Emory Jones in at right guard. Either way, I'm interested to see what it looks like with Lance Hurd with the ones on Saturday. I think we'll see it. We've talked a lot about the receivers. And yes, Kyron Lacey had at least 2 drops, potentially a third if you want to count the ball in the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half a drop. Of course, Brian Thomas had a drop deep down the left sideline. One of the questions I've been asked a bunch is, where was Chris Hilton? Chris Hilton, I thought, had a fantastic fall camp. He has gone through injury. He's bided his time. He looked really good in fall camp. I want to see Chris Hilton on Saturday. I think we'll get an opportunity. Same goes for Shelton Sampson. 5-star freshman receiver. He was running next, after Hilton, the next guy was Shelton Sampson. So I'm excited to see those 2 guys get their opportunity. Running back, Brian Kelly said it was a coach's decision not to play Logan Diggs. Maybe he wasn't 100%. It was interesting that Diggs wasn't listed on the injury report that Brian Kelly gave last week, but he didn't play. Brian Kelly listed the injury report on Tuesday. There was no mention of Logan Diggs. If he's healthy, I'm excited to see him. I think Logan Diggs is your most complete running back as far as size, speed, physicality, make you miss, blocking, all of that. I would like to see Logan Diggs on Saturday against Grambling get his first action, and let's see how he does. And I'll also throw out the freshman tight ends. A lot of people have been excited about Kamorian Pimpton because you're talking about a guy that's 6'6" with long pterodactyl arms, and the whole idea with a guy like that is he could be a red zone threat. Of course, you had a couple of red zone opportunities, and you didn't convert. That's not to say that you would have converted if Pimpton was on the field, because who do you want to take off the field? This is the question I brought up when we were talking about it in fall camp. Who do you want to take off the field if you're going to put Pimpton on it? But nonetheless, this is an opportunity to let that young guy get out on the field and see if he can go make some plays. And Mac Markway is the other one as well. Of course, Mac Markway is probably the best, and Mike Denbrock said this, Mac Markway is their best true tight end. He can put his hand in the dirt. He's an inline blocker, but he's also a really polished route runner. He wears number 84. This is probably a good opportunity to see him. Incidentally, the only other tight end you saw on Saturday was the JUCO tight end Connor Gilbreth, who basically is just a glorified tackle. He's another blocker. And on the second, 4th down, Connor Gilbreth was lined up on the left side of the line as a blocker. So that's another guy maybe worth keeping an eye on. Defensively, there's really 2 things I don't want to see. I mean, aside from Mason Smith, which is obvious. We all want to see what they do with Harold Perkins. Does he go back and play more Jack? We shared the stats with you from Pro Football Focus. 28 snaps in pass coverage, 7 snaps rushing the passer. For Harold Perkins against Florida State. For Harold Perkins, that needs to flip. I need those numbers inverted. So that's one thing, clearly, depending on how many snaps he even plays in the game. And number 2 is Ashton Stamps, the freshman cornerback, and this may be the most significant one. So you started Zy Alexander and Sage Ryan at corner. Sage Ryan did not last. They replaced Sage Ryan with Deuce Chestnut. Chestnut made some plays in the first half, had a PBU, had an interception. In the second half, it did not go well for Deuce Chestnut. And that's a guy that's listed at 5'11", 210. 5'11" might be generous. And when you're 5'11" and you're going against wide receivers that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", that's certainly not going to go well for you. Ashton Stamps is a true freshman. He is very athletic. And from everything I've been told, people around the program that like him a lot say he's got a very high football IQ. You would expect that coming from a place like Rummel, which is a great high school football program that when you come out of that program, not only are you generally a good player, but you're a high IQ football player coming through that program. So how quickly can Ashton Stamps get comfortable enough to play? Because what you saw on Saturday is not replicable. Like, you're not going to be able to do that in your secondary against great offenses. Now, the good news is you're not going to face a lot of offenses with a 6-year senior at quarterback and 2 NFL receivers like Florida State had. You're going to see some good receivers. I mean, Shamar Stewart at A&M is a really good receiver. Arkansas's got a 3-headed monster that's probably as good a receiving core as they've had since the days when Ryan Mallett was slinging it. So Ashton Stamps, the freshman on defense wearing number 26, I think is maybe the biggest key on Saturday. Let's see how much run he gets. How quickly can he get ready to go and be a contributor for you, because you need help at corner, and he might be the best option you have sitting on the bench right now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.